How's it going, everyone? I hope everyone's doing great. I think I finally figured out what my hottest take is, and I'm gonna already contradict one of my core ideas, which is to not talk about politics. Well, to mostly avoid talking about politics, but I think my hottest take is that the Republican Party is just gonna fall apart here soon. And I hope I hope the Democratic Party and the Republican Party just like goes to hell. Honestly, that's a little harsh, but you get the idea. But historically, like they're both tainted historically, so they need to go. Like I would not want to associate myself with Republicans or Democrats because the history is just so scuffed behind both parties. And the parties have changed a lot over time. Obviously, you guys, everything changes over time. Nothing stays the same. Sorry. Societies evolve over time. Technology, everything is changing all the time. There's a really famous phrase by Thales, one of the like original Greek philosopher guys. Anyways, he said you never step into the same river twice. And what he meant by that is that, you know, if you put your foot in a river, take it out and put it back in, within that time you've done that, all of the molecules in the river have shifted slightly, right? If it's flowing and all that, nothing stays the same for beyond an instant, okay? Anyways, getting back to the Republican Party, the U.S. is capitalistic, mostly, for better or for worse. And a lot of things are ran kind of like a company in the capitalist function. And capitalism requires basically constant growth forever, right? Investors want plus percent whatever profit increase, and that is not sustainable. You know, you cannot grow forever. It's just how it is. And companies change, companies evolve too. But the Republican Party, right? They're known for their conservative, however you want to define that takes, and a lot of it, you know, there's a lot of racism, prejudice, xenophobic views in the Republican Party. I'm not saying everyone, obviously, I did not imply that, but the U.S. population of white people is stagnant, right? And you want the population increasing over time because that's good for business. It's a truth, right? If you have a shrinking population, services are no longer required, as certain services will be no longer required or less of a service. You understand? Well, that conflicts with capitalism, right? So we have immigration, which we should. We need people in this country. You know, we need more people coming into this country. It can be done responsibly. I'm not advocating for the destruction of the environment, obviously. We suck at designing cities in the U.S. We still are terrible. And I'm like really into urbanism stuff. That's a whole other subject. But basically what I'm trying to say is, if you're xenophobic, racist, or conservative in views, and the population increases are from foreign people that are not white and may feel victimized by a party, eventually the population increase is going to go to the more liberal leaning parties. Again, I think the Dems need to go. We need a better options. We have this bullshit dichotomy of Republican, Democrat, and they're both such cursed parties. I can't state that clearly enough. Most politicians are just busted, bro. Like career politicians that have never studied science, and science is pretty much the key to efficiency and all kinds of stuff. These people have never studied this, and we expect them to rule us well. Get out of here, man. People are just delusional, and still, There's a lot of maybe conspiracy and stuff involved in parties. There's so much, you guys. It's a complex topic. But I've never heard any take like that the Republicans could make themselves obsolete based on their views and based on the realities of population growth in the US. The US is the third most populous nation in the world, and it is dwarfed in size by China and India in terms of population. The US is about, well, the continental US is a little bit smaller than China, but, Alaska and other properties of the US kind of, skew the statistics. Anyways, China has 1.3 billion people. We have 300 million. So they have a billion more people than we have. We don't even have a billion. We have about a third of a billion. And then India is not far below China. And India should surpass China here soon. Oh my gosh, this is a complete aside. Well, not really. I saw like a list of the most racist countries in the world, whatever that means, and India was number one. And that blew my mind, and I was sitting there and I was thinking, how can that be? Like India, there's 32 or 33 national languages in India? Official or recognized regional, whatever, you know what I'm trying to say. I think their provinces in India is like a different ethnic group of people that speak different languages. I forget how many provinces there are. There's got to be like 30 something. I don't know. I forget off the top of my head. I knew at some point. But isn't that fascinating? One of the most ethnically diverse countries, countries is an arbitrary thing. One of the most ethnically diverse places in the world is the most racist. It just says so much about humans needing to be in groups and belong and to latch on to certain ideals, even if they spit in the face of practical reality and it's obvious that they do, people still latch onto it. But anyways, I do think conservatives will phase themselves out, but what's considered conservative will change. Of course, everything is changing. I'm not unaware of that. But yeah, I've never heard anyone argue that like the influx of minorities and the population of Black Americans is increasing, but the population of white Americans is pretty much stagnant and might start decreasing. So that'll create such interesting political dynamics in the future. And I just wanted to briefly state that it's something to think about. I don't know if it's an original thought, but who cares? I think there's been like 129 billion humans that have existed. That number could be off by now. I read that at some point, I believe. So you can safely assume that there's about a 99% chance that the thoughts that you have, even if you think they might be original thoughts, somebody's probably thought of them before. I mean, a quick Google search will tell you if your thoughts are original or not. But who cares, you guys? Like, that's an ego thing. I think a lot of people want to leave a legacy, but dude, when you're dead, nobody cares. Or when you're dead, you cannot care about anything. You're gone forever. So it doesn't matter what your legacy is. You're not around to enjoy it. And maybe your family can take pride in your legacy, but obviously that's a dangerous path. But to be frank, human selfishness is the drive in innovation. Ironically, that's what's crazy about capitalism too, is like, if you put a bunch of self-serving people together, they will create this organic system that regulates and checks itself. It's really quite beautiful. But again, there's no such thing as pure capitalism, and I'm not saying capitalism is good or bad. There's no value statements in that. I'm just stating that it's fascinating because it is. Because it involves humans, and humans are fascinating. But anyways, if you're conservative, I'm not saying there's anything necessarily wrong with being conservative either. You guys, this is not how to argue. You understand? I'm saying these things because I'm just instantly thinking to all the times where there's like a voice almost whispering like, oh, this counter argument. But they're bullcrap counter arguments that are not logically sound. And that's why I recommend studying logic. I might make a whole video on logic. But that's another term that has been appropriated in common use. But there are like obviously strict like definitions of logic. There's informal and formal logic. Informal logic is what I think most people recognize as logic, like a red herring fallacy and other kind of fallacies like errors in thinking. But formal logic is like symbol based, using like operators like math, and it's really cool. I like both aspects of it, but I highly recommend checking out a little bit of logic. It changed my life. It changed the way I thought. But don't rely purely on logic. Pay attention and be aware of your own emotions and stuff too, because we are not completely logical creatures. We have emotions, and they're important to us, whether we want to admit it or not. I don't think I really have too much else to say, but thank you guys so much for watching always. I could probably honestly upload a video about every day on I already know what subject I could talk about next. It's great, man. I've really thought about a lot of this stuff, and I love sharing it. And I've made this disclaimer multiple times. I'm just going to say it again. I don't know everything. I'm not perfect. Never am I going to imply any of this. Never am I going to imply that I know everything, because I know nothing. Just thought I should mention that for the 50 millionth time, maybe save some people from typing in kind of dumb arguments in the comments. But I hope everyone is well and have a great day. Thank you.